From the rugged hills of Judea to the bustling streets of Babylon, from the sun-drenched shores of North Africa to the vibrant markets of India, and finally to the heart of Europe, we are about to embark on an extraordinary adventure. A few thousand years ago, in a land known as Judea, nestled between the Mediterranean Sea and the Dead Sea, there existed a place called Jerusalem. Within its ancient walls stood two magnificent temples, the first temple and later the second temple, which served as the spiritual center for the Jewish people. But alas, these holy sites were not destined to stand the test of time. In the year 70 AD, the Roman army, led by the formidable Titus, laid siege to Jerusalem. After a brutal battle, the Romans emerged victorious, leaving the Jewish people scattered and dejected. This tragic event marked a pivotal moment in history, an event that would irrevocably alter the course of the Jewish people and leave an indelible mark on the world. It was during this period that many Jews were forced to flee their homeland, embarking on a journey that would take them across continents and through centuries, eventually forming Jewish communities on every inhabited continent on the planet. Welcome to the first episode of our Unbelievable Journey series. Today, we will be exploring the secrets of the Jewish diaspora, a word that simply means scattered. We will be talking about the global history of the Jewish diaspora, one of the longest-lasting and most significant migrations in human history. Join us as we uncover the intriguing reasons behind this mass movement, shedding light on the persecution, cultural exchange, and resilience that have shaped the Jewish people over the millennia. Are you ready to unravel the past and discover the incredible story of the Jewish diaspora? Let's begin. Before we delve into the depths of the Jewish diaspora, it's important to lay a solid foundation to understand the historical context that led to this mass movement of people. So let's start at the beginning. Ancient Judea, also known as the Kingdom of Israel or the Kingdom of Judah, was an ancient Near Eastern kingdom that existed in the region of Canaan, which today comprises modern-day Israel and parts of neighboring countries. The kingdom's origins can be traced back to the 12th century BCE when the Israelites, led by figures like Moses and Joshua, settled in the land of Canaan after their exodus from Egypt. The Israelites established a monarchy with the first king being Saul, followed by David, who established the capital in Jerusalem, and Solomon. During Solomon's reign, the first temple, also known as the first house of the Lord, was built in Jerusalem, which became a center of religious and cultural life for the Jews. However, after Solomon's death, the kingdom split into two, with the northern kingdom, known as Israel, having its capital at Samaria, and the southern kingdom, known as Judah, having its capital at Jerusalem. As the centuries passed, both kingdoms faced numerous challenges, including attacks from neighboring empires. The northern kingdom of Israel was eventually conquered by the Assyrians in the 8th century BCE, and its people were exiled and dispersed. Meanwhile, the southern kingdom of Judah endured, although it too faced its share of hardships. One of the most significant events in the history of ancient Judea occurred in 586 BCE, when the Babylonians, under the rule of Nebuchadnezzar II, conquered Jerusalem and destroyed the first temple. Many Jews were exiled to Babylon, while others remained in the land of Judah. After the Babylonian Empire, the region came under the control of the Persian Empire. During this period, the Jews were allowed to return to Judah and rebuild the temple. In 516 BCE, the Second Temple was completed and Jewish life and worship resumed in Jerusalem. However, the political landscape continued to shift with the rise of the Greek Empire and later the Roman Empire. The Jews found themselves under the dominion of these powerful forces, and it was during this time that the Jewish people began to spread beyond the borders of ancient Judea. And now we come to the pivotal moment in Jewish history, the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE by the Roman army under Titus. This event, known as the Siege of Jerusalem, marked the end of the Second Temple period and had a profound impact on the Jewish people, leading to their dispersion among the nations. The siege lasted for a brutal 5 years, resulting in the city's capture and the devastation of the temple. Many Jews were killed, enslaved, or exiled, and those who survived were left traumatized and shattered. The destruction of the temple, which had been the spiritual heartland of Judaism, sent shockwaves throughout the Jewish communities. With no central place of worship, the Jewish people were forced to adapt and find ways to maintain their religious practices and identity while living in exile. In the aftermath of the siege, the Jewish people began to disperse across the known world. Some fled to the mountainous regions of Judah, seeking refuge among the caves and hiding places. Others found solace in Mesopotamia, Persia, and India, establishing communities far from their ancestral homeland. Among them was a group of Jews who fled to a land known as Azerbaijan, located in what is today known as Armenia and Iran. When Alexander the Great conquered the region, he encountered this Jewish community and was fascinated by their distinct culture and traditions. Recognizing their unique status, he granted them autonomy, allowing them to govern themselves according to their own laws and customs. This historical event marked the beginning of a new chapter in Jewish history, a chapter characterized by resilience, adaptation, and the preservation of cultural identity in the face of adversity. As the centuries rolled by, the Jewish communities in these lands flourished. They developed their own languages, customs, and traditions, all while holding fast to their Jewish roots. Their presence in these diverse environments led to cultural exchanges and interactions with people of different faiths. For instance, in India, the Jews encountered ancient Hindu traditions and philosophies, which left an indelible mark on their communal identity. In Persia, they engaged with the Zoroastrian community, sharing stories and beliefs that enriched their understanding of the world. In Ethiopia, they found common ground with local Christians, contributing to the unique blend of cultures that define the country's heritage. These encounters were not merely geographical footnotes, but profound moments of human interaction, shaping the Jewish experience in ways that transcended borders and beliefs. In the late 19th century, a remarkable revival occurred when the Zionist movement gained momentum, aiming to establish a Jewish state in their ancestral homeland, Palestine. This movement resonated deeply with many Jews who yearned for a place of their own, where they could fully express their cultural and religious identity. As the 20th century unfolded, the Zionist aspiration bore fruit with the establishment of the modern State of Israel in 1948. This momentous event offered a new chapter in Jewish history, a chance to return to their historic homeland and build a nation of their own. However, this narrative is not without its complexities. While the establishment of Israel brought hope and opportunity to many Jews, it also led to the displacement and dispossession of the Palestinian Arabs who had been living in the region for generations. This displacement, known as the Nakba or catastrophe in Arabic, resulted in hundreds of thousands of Palestinians becoming refugees, forced to flee their homes and seek refuge in neighboring countries. The creation of Israel has been a contentious issue, marked by ongoing conflicts and tensions between Israel and Palestine. It's essential to acknowledge this dark chapter in history and recognize the suffering endured by the Palestinian people. Despite the challenges and conflicts, the establishment of Israel stands as a testament to the enduring spirit of the Jewish people. It symbolizes their right to self-determination and their deep connection to their ancestral homeland. The Jewish diaspora serves as a powerful reminder of the strength and resilience of a community that has endured persecution, assimilation, and exile for centuries. The Jewish people have preserved their language, customs, and traditions, ensuring that their cultural heritage has survived the test of time. Their ability to adapt and thrive in diverse environments is a testament to their ingenuity and determination. Moreover, the Jewish diaspora has enriched the world with invaluable contributions in various fields, from science and art to literature and philosophy. Jewish thinkers have shaped our understanding of the world, and Jewish artists have inspired generations with their creativity. The Jewish diaspora has also played a vital role in interfaith dialogue, promoting understanding and cooperation among different religious communities. Their experience of living as a minority in non-Jewish societies has fostered empathy and respect for other cultures. In conclusion, the Jewish diaspora is a profound testament to the strength, resilience, and cultural richness of a community that has navigated centuries of persecution, assimilation, and exile. Their ability to preserve their identity while embracing diversity is a remarkable feat that has enriched not only their own communities, but the world at large. By understanding the history of the Jewish diaspora, we gain a deeper appreciation for the complexity of Jewish identity and the universal themes of resilience, cultural exchange, and the search for belonging. This brings us to the end of this episode in our Unbelievable Journey series. We hope you've enjoyed this captivating exploration of the Jewish diaspora. If you want to continue your journey through time and learn more about the fascinating history of this incredible community, we invite you to watch the next episode in the series. European Jews face persecution, yet they continue to flourish culturally and intellectually. Meanwhile, in the East, a new era dawns for the Jewish people. In the year 1096, the First Crusade is underway. European Christian armies are marching east with the goal of taking Jerusalem, a holy city in the land of Israel, which at that time was under Muslim rule. For centuries, European Jews have lived more or less in peace with their Christian neighbors, but now some of those same Christians are heading their way. Jews have been living in Europe for over 2,000 years. They've grown accustomed to hardship, but what makes the First Crusade unique is that it's not a distant empire that's oppressing them, but their neighbors, fellow subjects of the king who share their towns and cities. In fact, when the Crusaders arrive in the Rhineland, many German Jews actually welcome them as liberators. They've suffered greatly at the hands of local nobles. Maybe these holy warriors will put an end to their oppression. Instead, the Crusaders see the Jews as Christ killers. As punishment, they demand money, then beatings, then massacres. Some Jews are forced to convert. Others flee into the countryside, or even across the sea to England. And there they find a different kind of hostility. A rumor spreads that the Jews of York poisoned the wells. During the local epidemic, hundreds of Jews are slaughtered throughout Northern Europe. The Crusades had begun. In the years that follow, Jews would suffer attacks known as pogroms, often provoked by blood libels like this one. But amidst all this violence, something remarkable happens. European Jews flourish culturally and intellectually. This seems impossible, but it's true. Why did Jews migrate to other continents in the 19th and 20th centuries? What were the defining characteristics of medieval Jewish life? And how did Jews go from being royal favorites to the victims of horrific persecution? To answer these questions, we'll travel from the bustling universities of 12th century France to the sun-drenched shores of 15th century Spain. And we'll talk about the most famous Jew of all time. Medieval Jewish life takes off in the 12th century. European Jewry enjoys a golden age, partially thanks to increased trade, partially thanks to the relative tolerance of local rulers, but above all, thanks to the flourishing of Jewish scholarship. It all starts with the completion of the first known Hebrew grammar book, written in the 1100s by the Spanish Jewish scholar Moses Maimonides. This grammar leads to the codification of medieval Hebrew, which allows for a flowering of literature. Think poets like Judah Halevi and Solomon Bar Sinson, philosophers like Gersonides and Hasdai Crescas, and yes, even scientists like Levi Ben Gershon, who will write one of the earliest books on perspective. But it's in medicine where medieval Jewish life really shines. We owe our knowledge of eye diseases to the work of the physician Salmon Treveni, who will publish a major treatise on this subject in 1270. And it's another thing we owe to the Jewish physician Moses Maimonides. In 1165, he publishes a medical encyclopedia based on his own experience treating the poor in Spain. It becomes one of the most important medical texts of the Middle Ages, translated into Latin and used throughout Europe for centuries. His brother, David, also makes a name for himself as a poet and philosopher. He becomes the court physician to the Sultan of Egypt, Saladin, the very man whose armies take Jerusalem in 1187, recapturing the city from Muslim rule. This coexistence between Jews and Muslims leads to yet another flourishing of Jewish scholarship, this time in science. Like his predecessors, Al-Khaz's work is influenced by both Greek philosophy and Islamic thought. His most famous book is the Commentary on the Book of the Properties of Matter, published in 1204. Here he tackles Aristotle's theory of the four elements and proposes a scientific model based on a quintessence, a fifth element, that solves problems the four elements can't. Unfortunately, his scientific work gets overshadowed by his philosophical work, especially his book, The Era of the Philosophers. It outlines his views on Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, He argues that since God revealed himself to Abraham before there were cities or countries, monotheism is universal, and thus Jews, Christians, and Muslims must all worship the same God. His ideas spread throughout the Middle Ages, though they're not well received by church authorities. After all, the Pope has declared anyone who claims there's more than one God heretical. Though persecuted, Jews continued to contribute to medieval culture, even in art. Remember the stained glass windows of medieval cathedrals? Well, much of Europe owes their beauty to Jewish artisans. That's because Jewish glass painters work for generations in the workshops of secular artists, including some of the greatest names in the history of art, creating works for cathedrals throughout France and Germany. Their skills are so renowned that Christian artists try to copy them. Still, it's hard to deny that life is difficult for European Jews. Even when they enjoy a flourishing of culture, they live under a dark cloud. That's because medieval anti-Semitism has deep roots. Early Christians viewed Jews as Christ killers. Now they're casting the blame on all Jews everywhere. And things are about to get much worse. When the Spanish Inquisition begins in 1478, many Jews leave Spain rather than convert to Christianity or die. But that won't stop the Spanish monarchy from expelling Jews in 1492, just 2 weeks after the conquest of Granada, the last Muslim stronghold in Iberia. Jews are blamed for the kingdom's financial troubles. King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella decide it's time to send them packing. Over 200,000 Jews leave Spain within a few months, traveling to neighboring kingdoms and overseas territories, though a few will return under the protection of Catholic monarchs in the following centuries. The great majority never come back. For the first time in their history, Jews begin to leave Europe in large numbers. In the late Middle Ages, they head to North Africa and the Near East. Beginning in the 18th century, thousands of Jews migrate to the Americas. Many more will follow in the 19th century, especially after the French Revolution and the emancipation of the Jews in many European countries. From Russia, Eastern Europe, and the Ottoman Empire, Jews travel to Great Britain, Belgium, and Germany, where they start to build new lives. These migrations continue throughout the 19th century, driven by increasing persecution, the emergence of nationalist movements, and the promise of better lives elsewhere. Then in the early 20th century, European Jews face their greatest challenge. Millions of them are murdered by the Nazi regime and its collaborators during the Holocaust. Those who survive face a terrible choice: either stay in Europe and risk further persecution or migrate somewhere else. For some, that destination is Israel, a country established in 1948. In the aftermath of the Holocaust, many Jews around the world feel compelled to return to their historic homeland. At the same time, the State of Israel provides refuge for Jews fleeing persecution in Arab countries. Today, most European Jews live in Israel or North America. Now look at this map of Jewish population density in 2018. Where do you see the largest concentrations of Jews today? How has Jewish life evolved since the Middle Ages? And how did anti-Semitism take root in medieval Europe? To learn more about the origins of anti-Semitism, check out Crash Course Judaism, a series produced in partnership with the Jewish Agency for Israel. Today we're going to talk about being Jewish around the world. We've said it before, and we'll say it again. The Jewish people are people of the book, and we travel everywhere that our books do. And so today we're going to travel the world, because there is no place where there aren't Jews. But what does it mean to be Jewish when you're not in Israel? How do Jewish communities all around the world keep their identities thriving? Welcome to this week's Torah portion. This week we read in Parashat Vayegash. It's a really long parasha. You know why? Because we're getting ready for Passover. And the Torah knows that we have a lot to read before then. So we've got a lot of stuff to cover this week. If you want to join us for the full study, you can become a member at our website. But today we're going to start by talking about verse 42. Verse 42 says, "And they found favor and kindness in his eyes, and he sent them away there." Who are them? Well, these are Joseph's brothers after they came to Egypt, realizing that they had wronged him, that they had sold him into slavery many years before. They were afraid that now he would seek revenge, but Joseph forgave them and ultimately helped bring the family into Egypt. And Rashi, classic medieval Jewish commentator Rashi says, wherever you find a verse that ends with, "and he sent them away," that means they welcomed them and accepted them and treated them kindly. That's what it means to be Jewish, accepting people in spite of their flaws. But more than that, Judaism has always been a religion of welcoming the stranger. In fact, part of the biblical requirement for living a moral life is not to oppress a foreigner or an immigrant, because you know what it's like to be a stranger in a foreign land. Why? Because the Torah tells us that our ancestors were strangers in the land of Egypt. So welcoming those who are different from us is part of what it means to be Jewish. But that's only one aspect of the story. The other side of the coin is, how did the Jewish people get to Egypt in the first place? Well, as we talked about last week, Jacob blessed his 12 sons and proclaimed that they would become the heads of 12 tribes. Now, most of the time this blessing went as predicted, but when it came to Joseph, he wasn't just the head of one tribe, he was the head of 2 tribes. And that's because when Joseph went down to Egypt, he had 2 sons. And according to Genesis, those 2 sons became the progenitors of the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh. So that's 2 tribes. And that's why there are actually 13 tribes of Israel. Now, as we read in this week's Parsha, Joseph set up his 2 sons as heads of his own 2 tribes. He even gave them hereditary portions of land in the land of Canaan, and he made sure that they had a special status in society. But they weren't the only ones. When the Jewish people left Egypt, they didn't just leave with Jacob and his 10 sons. No, they left with all the converts that they had made in Egypt. We don't know exactly how many converts there were. Some say there were many, many thousands. Others say it was probably only a few hundred. But the bottom line is that the Jewish people weren't the only ones who left Egypt. Those who converted to Judaism also had a place in the Jewish community. Now, if you've ever tried to navigate the complexities of multicultural society, you know how difficult it can be to honor everyone's traditions and values, while also maintaining your own. But the Jewish people figured this out 3,000 years ago. And so from the very beginning, the Jewish people have been a diverse people. Of course, we're all related through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. and we all follow the same laws and traditions. But that doesn't mean that we're all the same. There are Ashkenazim and Sephardim, Mizrahim and Beta Israel, and many others. There are different ways of speaking Hebrew, different ways of pronouncing Yiddish, different foods that we eat, and different holidays that we celebrate. There are even different ways of praying and reading the Torah. But in spite of our differences, we're all united by our common heritage and our commitment to the same values. In fact, our diversity is one of our greatest strengths because it gives us a broader perspective on the world. We learn from each other's cultures and traditions, and we're able to see things from different points of view. We're also more adaptable because we're used to living in different environments and dealing with different situations. And we're more creative because we're constantly coming up with new ways of expressing ourselves. For example, the Jewish people have always been known for our scholarship. Think about it. Maimonides wrote the Mishneh Torah in the 12th century, and it's still the single most important book of Jewish law. But what about the rest of Jewish history? What about the Torah? What about the Talmud? What about the Midrash? These works wouldn't have been possible without the contributions of Jewish scholars from all over the world. Take the Talmud, for example. It was compiled in the 5th and 6th centuries in the land of Israel, but it was finished in the 7th century in Babylonia, and that's because when the Muslim armies conquered Israel, many Jewish scholars fled to Babylonia, where they could continue their work. Or take the medieval commentator Rashi. He lived in France in the 11th century, but his commentary on the Torah is based on the work of scholars from all over the world. He uses references from the land of Israel, from Babylonia, from Italy, from Spain, and from North Africa. Judaism is a global religion, and the Jewish people are a global people. We live all over the world, and we come from all walks of life. We speak different languages, we have different customs, and we celebrate our holidays in different ways. But in spite of our differences, we're all united by our common heritage and our commitment to the same values. But that doesn't mean that it's always easy to be Jewish outside of Israel. In many places, there are not enough Jewish families to form a community. This leads to assimilation, which is when children leave Judaism to adopt the religion of their friends. Sometimes there's anti-Semitism, which is prejudice against Jewish people. This can lead to discrimination, which is when Jewish people are treated differently because of their religion. And sometimes there are interfaith relationships, which is when Jewish people date or marry people who are not Jewish. This can lead to intermarriage, which is when children are raised with two different religions. All of these things threaten the continuity of Jewish life outside of Israel. So what are Jewish communities doing to keep their traditions alive? Well, first of all, they're using the tools of modern technology. The internet and social media have made it easier than ever to connect with other Jewish people all over the world. There are websites and apps that help people find Jewish events and services near them. And there are online communities where people can share their experiences and learn about other cultures. Secondly, Jewish organizations are working hard to make Judaism more relevant for young people. They're offering innovative programs and services that cater to the needs of the modern generation. For example, there are hillels on college campuses all over the world that offer students a place to connect with other Jewish people and learn about their heritage. And there are summer camps that offer children a chance to experience Jewish life in a fun and engaging way. Finally, Jewish communities are reaching out to other groups to build bridges of understanding and cooperation. This is important not only for the sake of the Jewish people, but for the sake of the whole world. After all, we're all in this together. So that's what it means to be Jewish around the world. It means being proud of our heritage and our values. It means using the tools of modern technology to connect with other Jewish people. It means working hard to make Judaism more relevant for young people. And it means reaching out to other groups to build bridges of understanding and cooperation. It's not always easy, but it's so worth it because being Jewish is more than just a religion. It's a way of life. It's a way of seeing the world. And it's a way of making the world a better place. One of the most famous rabbis of all time, Rabbi Akiva, once said, "Love your neighbor as yourself." That is the great principle upon which the entire Torah is based. That's a great lesson for all of us, Jewish and non-Jewish alike. Let's make sure that we're doing our part to make the world a better place for everyone. Let's make sure that we're treating others with respect and dignity, regardless of their background or beliefs. Let's make sure that we're reaching out to those who aren't different from us and building bridges of understanding. That's what it means to be Jewish, and that's what we should all strive to be. And that's it for this week's Torah portion. I hope you enjoyed this opportunity to explore the richness and complexity of Jewish life around the world. If you did, please make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below to let me know what you think. And if you'd like to learn more about the Jewish people and our traditions, please make sure to visit our website. Until next time, Shalom.